Have you noticed that there have been lots of remakes and reboots and original films and series that have done spectacularly badly?
I don't know if there have been any original creations up of late. I can't name
Well,
many.
we will talk about Bros, an LGBT film that didn't do very well. But have you? What do you think is behind this?
So it's more of an easy way for Hollywood not to pay good writers. Like they can skim money. They can skim money on hiring good actors. They can hire new faces with diversity initiatives, so they can skim money on that. And the technique is called fan baiting. So they're baiting the fans. They cause outrage in order to, first of all, get rid of the negative reviews. Because you can say there's a lot of racist bigots that are review bombing us. And now if you give a negative review, you're being lumped with the racist bigots. They get free advertisement in the New York Times, The Guardian, BBC. Everyone talks about these movies. And finally, they also can justify why Rotten Tomatoes or IMDb can silence the dissent. They can simply ban negative reviews without people mentioning there's a conflict of interest.
But why? So you think though that they would hire these bad writers just to save money?
Yeah, and to get the publicity going, like that, they save a lot of money on publicity, on, and then they can also get tax cuts and other ways of money laundering within Hollywood.
This is very cynical, though, isn't it?
Well, I prefer being cynical as an Eastern European. Like I'm always wondering, okay, how are they profiting off of this?
Sure, but like I think, we've talked about this before. Like in the West, a lot of people are very idealistic.
Yes,
Like they will do things for what they believe to be moral reasons.
But you can mix both. I mean, you don't have to just have cynicalism. I'm sure they can justify it to themselves by saying, well, we're doing this for ideological purposes.
I think that comes before the money, actually.
Well, nevertheless, I believe both of them exist.
Sure.
And if it wasn't profitable to do this, it wasn't sustainable, then I think they would drop it.
I don't think it is profitable and sustainable. And I think they are dropping it because, like, I mean, we saw Netflix firing a bunch of people.
Yeah, if you look at the institution, it's not. But if you look at the people at the top, they are getting paid.
Well, they're getting paid for now, but if they destroy their own institution, then they won't get paid.
I don't think they like to think that far.
Maybe not.
Like, how will we look like in 10 years? Like, if you look, you'll notice that the people who fail at these projects, Zoe Quinn, for example, are you aware of?
I'm aware of Zoe Quinn.
So she was placed in charge of a flagship comic book at DC, ended up that not selling, and then she's moved upwards. Like, this is how it works.
Yeah, she failed upward, didn't she?
Yeah, many people fail upwards.
Yeah, but I mean, there's got to come a point where there are too many failures and they cost too much.
Sure. Yeah.
And I think we're seeing enough of that at the moment. And I think we are seeing a kind of implosion of these things. But I think that what they are actually is completely captured by left-wing ideology. And I think they're actually kind of in a bubble and a box where they don't really understand why they're failing. And I think they're quite resentful over it. So I would say, sorry, a bit of a thing on the back there. If you want to know more about this, right, I actually covered what I think is the problem with Hollywood at the moment in my Politics of Warhammer 40,000. Now, this is a very long essay that I wrote that's on the website, but one part of it is a section where I'm talking about the concept of representation, which I think I'm actually going to do a proper book club on, because this is a philosopher Hannah Pitkin's conceptual analysis of just the concept of representation. What does it mean to be represented, right? And I think that she's actually hitting on a lot of important points, and I think it's actually this that underpins why they've done any of this in the first place and why they're failing at the same time. Because at the end of the day, if I don't find something represented in the media that is being produced, I'm just not going to engage with it. I'm just not going to entertain it. I mean, have you been watching The Rings of Power?
No, Jesus, why would I do that? I mean, that is a way that Hollywood discovered how to fight piracy. Yes. I wouldn't even pirate it. It's really that obnoxious. So
that's a great description.
But I am aware of Rings of Power, yes.
Well, I have been slogging just through it. I've been trudging. Like, it's been a harrowing experience. I feel like it feels the emotional equivalent of marching up a mountain in a blizzard. Right. Mm-hmm. And every time you get over the next hump, there's another, goes up. And there's another, and you just got to keep going. You're never getting to the peak.
That bad, is it?
Oh, it's genuinely awful.
I heard the last episode was really good. That's what
No.
media tells me. I mean,
Yeah, well,
there were
there-
4
yeah.
articles in a day talking about it.
Well, they have to, because otherwise everyone's going to have known what it's like because they've watched the first episode. No, it's terrible. Absolutely terrible. We'll talk about it another time because I want to talk about Bros first.
Oh, yes.
So this, I hadn't even heard of this.
Go watch
right?
it, you bigot.
We will get to that. We will get to that. It is go watch it, you bigot, right? So you can see the articles, as you say, the puff pieces that they've been producing. Art imitating life. Bros is the first major Hollywood film to feature an all LGBTQ cast.
Take my money.
Exactly. I mean, how could that not be an appeal to you? They say this in this film, Bobby, one of the characters, becomes the executive director of an LGBTQ history museum. That's a riveting plot premise. And they have a diverse cast of hilariously feuding board members who fight for acknowledgement. Eichner, I think he's not the director, but a producer or something, and main star, feels that everyone should have access to LGBTQ history.
They
Got a
do.
lot
It's
of
called the
interest?
internet, yeah.
But are you interested in LGBTQ history?
Not much, no.
You don't spend a lot of time like just Googling out of casual interest?
Well, maybe when I make a video about it, but other than that, not really.
Just not for personal enrichment then. He says it's part of life, it's part of culture. As long as there have been humans, there have been LGBTQ people falling in love, falling out of love, having sex with each other. It's part of the human experience and part of civilization. Has that been part of your human experience, V?
No, but it's fascinating. Good go.
I think it should be taught as soon as you would teach about any other culture. And of course they say, well, look, I mean, there have been other big budget gay movies like Brokeback Mountain. They made loads of money. So why wouldn't this make loads of money? Come on.
It was an interview with a person that was a left-leaning from Africa, a president,
Oh, yeah.
and with a lady from the BBC. And he just wanted to talk about how to economically improve his country. And the
Yeah.
lady from the BBC was like, but what about butt sex, though? Like, how do you feel about the LGBT community in your country? And I was like, this is the exact thing you're talking about here. Like it's usually the rich, the wealthy that are fascinated about this topic. And other people are like, how can I put food on the table?
Yeah. Apparently one of the people's favorite scene is when one of the actor's favorite scenes is when his character is left alone in the LGBTQ museum and he gets to see his community's history. He realizes that he's part of a collective and that he comes from somewhere.
And all the collective goes to socialism.
Exactly. This is a landmark gay film, say Yahoo, which is very interesting. I think this wasn't originally on Yahoo, but they collate it. As the first LGBT rom-com ever produced and distributed by a mainstream studio with an entirely LGBTQ cast.
Very important.
The pressure, it is very important. But for Eichner, the main goal was for audiences to have a good time. Sometimes it feels like LGBTQ stories are meant to appease and not alienate straight people by getting too specific about our lives. And I understand the reason for that, but I think we're at the point now where we can be really honest.
Oh, so he's alienating the straight people.
Well, I mean, that's why they tried not to, but he's like, yeah, I think I will. I think we're at
I
the
think
point.
he was successful.
Yeah, I think we're at the point where we can be, as he says, quote, unabashedly gay, proud, raunchy, and romantic.
Beautiful.
I can't wait to watch it.
Me neither.
And of course, it's not the first gay love story, but it is the raunchiest one. Mm-hmm. You want to watch a raunchy gay rom-com?
Well, how would you find raunchy? Like, what is that? Raunchy.
Well, actually, pretty raunchy, apparently.
Like terms of service violation, raunchy, or
yeah. Do you want to go to the next one?
Oh, that is raunchy. Yeah, I can.
I don't want to read that out. Actually,
no, but I can view the raunchiness in it.
Yeah, but if you have to cut out a scene that uses quote a $30,000 butt rig,
what
to simulate something I'm just not going to mention on YouTube, then pretty raunchy. Pretty raunchy. So this is not top of your list of things to watch.
You can feed a Romanian village with that butt rig.
Feed an English
So, like,
village with that
what do
butt
you want me
rig.
to see in that movie? Like how Hollywood elites are flaunting their wealth in front of the poor?
I mean, that's a deposit for a house in England. Like, that's mental.
Yeah, I mean, that's a house in Romania.
But it's also a butt rig in Los Angeles. And that they didn't even use in the film because someone else had used something similar in a different film. And they were like, well, if they beat us to the punch on that
So what did they do? Did they get a refund for it?
No, I think it's just in the warehouse.
Oh,
$30,000.
I hope it's well guarded because
Yeah.
it looks valuable.
Are you suggesting Eastern European thieves are going to break into Hollywood warehouses?
$30,000 easy to put in a pocket. Come on. You don't even need a suitcase for that. You just put it in a pocket.
I don't know, actually. I don't know how big it was. Like, I mean, it sounds like it's a rig. It sounds like it's quite big. You might need to bring a van.
Oh.
But anyway, moving on. This is part of a new wave of queer storytelling. So this isn't just like the first major Hollywood movie. There's going to be a whole slew of these things coming out. And I tell you what, it looks absolutely atrocious. I watched the trailer. I'm not going to inflict the trailer on anyone because, of course, copyright. But if you get to the next one, can you just like play it in the background? Just have it playing in quiet, right? You can just see like. I mean, this is just 100% California gay culture, right?
Yeah, California.
Yeah.
But were they actually doing it or just kissing in public?
Oh, they were pretending they were pretending like having a like lovers tiff, and everyone thinks they're fighting, and then they start kissing. They're like, "Oh, don't worry." But you can see like it's insufferable, like people being bitchy.
You said you weren't going to play the trailer.
Well, I'm not gonna like.
Oh,
play it
I
for
have
them.
privilege, I see.
But it's just, I mean, it's just so cringe. I watched it a couple of times, and I was just like, God, this is like one of the worst things I've ever seen because it's at the same time parodying like intersectional and social justice politics. Because at one point you've got like the board members, and they're all gay, obviously, or some flavor of gay. Oh yeah, they've got kids dancing, gay
That's
dancing.
beautiful.
Yeah, it's very progressive.
This is the Cuties director's cut.
It's awful. Anyway, so critics and audiences loved it, as you can imagine. If you can just scroll down to the tomato meat, there we go. 90%.
The rigged tomatoes, yes.
Yeah, 90% fresh, 91% audience score.
Oh.
Dude, this must be an amazing film.
Yeah.
This must be incredible.
I mean, if people didn't watch it, they didn't vote on it.
Yeah, exactly. But nobody heard of it. That's the thing, you know. But Oscar worthy. Surely this is gonna have like all of these awards lined up for it, and it's gonna need them as a massive cope because it really, really failed at the box office. It cost $22 million to make and brought in $4.8 million on its box office.
That's a big boof.
Yes. So, like you say, you know, if they're thinking, well, I'm saving money on the writers, well, you're not, actually.
Yeah, but not this case. I mean, not every single case of woke movie is going to think that they're saving money.
Well,
There are professionals, and then there's this guy who...
but there are lots of them that do fail, right? I mean, like, you know, which woke movies are making money?
I mean, we would have to go through a list, but you wouldn't have to see if they make money. You'd have to see if the people in charge are getting paid.
Well, they're all getting paid. I mean, like, you know.
Yeah, I mean, what is the name of the girl that ruined Star Wars?
I know the Force's female woman.
Yeah.
Kathleen.
Kathleen Kennedy. Yeah, I mean, she's getting a good paycheck. She's still there, right? So, like, obviously, she has an intention of going forward. Like, if Disney fell, she doesn't care.
Sure, but like, I mean, it is her career that tanked it, right? Do you want to be known as the person who crashed Disney?
From her mansion, she probably doesn't care.
Sure, but I don't know. I think it's about ego and status, like we were saying earlier.
I mean, maybe, but it's usually the marketing people that push for this. It's not sometimes in collaboration with the people at the top. G4B Day is a perfect example. It was the marketing people and Mrs. Frost that had the collaboration of trying the fan baiting, which didn't work.
No.
Yeah.
I get the feeling though that a lot of the people in advertising are kind of trapped between a rock and a hard place, right? So the people at the top, like Kathleen Kennedy, are like, yeah, we're having like woke Star Wars, market it, and they're like, oh Jesus, what are our options here? You know, how do we market woke Star Wars? Oh, we just call everyone a bigot, which is incidentally what they did with this.
Oh, they exaggerated a little bit. Like usually they would call you a bigot if you give negative reviews. Now you're a bigot if you don't watch it.
That's exactly right. So Eichner tweeted out that he was very proud of the movie after the first weekend that had failed. Even with glowing reviews, great Rotten Tomato scores, and an A cinema score, straight people, especially in certain parts of the country, just didn't show up for Bros. And what a disappointing thing that is. Everyone who isn't a homophobic weirdo should go see Bros tonight. Mm-hmm. Well, I would have done, but you cut out the rimming scene, so I decided that was
the
it.
$30,000.
Yeah. If I don't get to see the butt rig, what's the point in turning up?
I did the math on this on my channel. I looked at how many gay people were in the United States.
Yeah.
And
Is it
then
like 2%, right?
yeah, then I crunched the numbers, and I realized that if every single gay person in the U.S. would have gone seen it, there would have been more people than actually went to see this.
Ooh.
So assuming everyone that went to see it was gay and there were
Yeah.
no straight people in the audience,
Which is probably the case.
he hasn't appealed to even 2% of the gay community in the United States. So maybe, just maybe, it's not about straight people not being interested in this.
I did see articles saying that sort of thing, but I didn't include it for some reason. But he says that the real answer to why it's taken so long for Hollywood to release a film like this is because everyone in the world, including Hollywood, has been very homophobic.
Absolutely, yes.
Even Hollywood. Hollywood's homophobic. They give you $30,000 for a butt rig, and they're homophobic.
No, I agree. I mean, when I think of homophobia, I think of Hollywood. Absolutely.
I think of the people doing everything they can to make gays look terrible, and it's Hollywood. Like, honestly, like, it's not like anyone looks at Douglas Murray, like, you know, clean cut, well dressed, being eloquent, and being like, "Oh God, the gays." You know, no one thinks that, right? But this, no one wants to watch it. Wonder why?
I think it doesn't. They talk about representation, but they don't talk about relatability. Like, I watched the trailer that you showed. It's like a strong man lifting weight, some guy going into a rich boardroom. It's like, well, that's not speaking to my life. That's not speaking to my lived experience. Like, all the gayness aside,
Yeah.
right? You're not showing a story that speaks to people. Like, I don't, if you have the story of a poor person being born in a trailer, like, let's say a Marvel movie, there's this black guy gets to be brought up in a poor neighborhood. I can relate with that because I grew up in a poor neighborhood. So we have that in common, and that creates a connection. But when you're going to show like the luxurious life of people in LA, that doesn't speak to even 99% of the world.
John, can we get back to the trailer a second? Can we go to the beginning of the trailer and just play like the first 30 seconds with the audio on, just so we can hear it? Just because I like what you've hit on there is exactly right. Can we?
Hey guys, it's Bobby Lieber coming to you from the future home of the LGBTQ plus museum. Everyone is really excited and totally getting along.
This happens to be Bisexual Awareness Week, and no one has acknowledged it.
Lesbian History Month was in March. Nobody said a goddamn thing.
Of course, lesbians get a month and we get a week.
Stop it there. That's exactly right. That's not my life experience.
Yeah, no.
In any way, shape, or form. I'm not in some California boardroom with a bunch of, queer people
Screaming about stuff that's very politically engaging.
Exactly. That's just not my life experience, and I don't want it to be my life experience, And so this is why I was talking at the beginning about representation. Who are you talking to? And so he carries on. He says, look, I think underneath it all, that even though Hollywood has led the charge on LGBTQ issues and representation, I think underneath it all, there was a fear that the quote-unquote mainstream audience wasn't necessarily ready for this type of movie. And I think that's because our stories weren't being told. And so it's because no one's bloody interested. Mm-hmm. I don't want to watch a bunch of screeching Californians talking about what they're entitled to. Just not interested. Prejudice is the reason that it had bad numbers. It's just prejudice. I do believe there's a measure of truth in what Eichner has said after the news of the disappointed numbers. Prejudice did play a role in who felt comfortable enough to see it in theatres and who didn't. And film executives were kidding themselves. They didn't think a film about queer love could face some financial backlash in a world where queer books are banned and hate groups turn up to drag shows armed. The very existence of queer cinema is an affront to many.
Are they talking about books being banned because they're not being taught into school?
Yes, they're talking about books that involve gay oral sex.
Unless a book is not forced read by people and then told to repeat what they read in front of a university professor or a school teacher, it's banned.
Yeah,
so the Bible is banned in schools. Then.
Mein Kampf is banned in schools.
No, the Bible is banned in schools.
That is also true.
Yeah. I mean, we live in a world where the Bible is banned. I mean, that's very concerning.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised the Christians aren't up in arms in it. I'm sure they were, actually, a couple of decades ago when it was banned. But anyway, so this is, of course, this is an original film, incidentally. But, of course, this is not the only thing that's... is it gay washing? What do we call it when something gets a gay makeover?
Woke washing.
Yeah, but that's too general.
Woke staining.
We need something that specifically speaks to gay, right? Because that's what's happening.
Oh, I have a couple, but I don't think.
Yeah. So, like the new interview with the vampire, AMC's interview with the vampire has just dropped, and it's gay as hell.
Oh, I'm so glad.
Can't wait to watch it. Right? I mean, I like the original film, Interview with the Vampire, but I'm not really interested in watching a really gay version of it.
I'm not interested in watching remakes, period. At this point,
yeah.
I did a couple of originals to
Yeah.
just get out of the whole remake, sequels, prequels era.
Oh, it's so lazy, isn't it? I can't take it.
Well, yeah, I told you, no writers.
Yep. And the new Scooby-Doo, Thelma's finally a lesbian. Finally, thank God.
Oh my fuck! What did they do to her? Look what they did to my boy. Oh my God! What is that? Are the people in the audience able to see that?
Yes?
What is Velma's expression?
I don't know.
It looks concerning.
But yes, so no amount of remakes.
And why is Velma more breast than human? Like, look how massive that is.
Yeah, she was always quite dowdy, really, wasn't she?
Yeah, I mean, Daphne was the good-looking one.
Yeah. So
Jesus Christ.
But
That's an abomination.
This is her being, I don't know, enamored with the girl next to her, apparently.
Like, I have no problem with her being gay, but I have a problem with her being drawn.
But yes, so, and the final thing I want to end this on is why She-Hulk is failing. And I think this all comes down to the question of representation. Who are your audience? Who are you talking to? And I think, did you watch any of She-Hulk?
No. No, but I'm aware. I seen the clips.
No, I come from a place where people are serious.
Yes.
They have things to do.
No, if any of the people involved in the production insult me directly, then I'm not going to watch their stuff.
Fair, but I figured as a content creator, we might be obligated to know at least
I
what-
haven't talked that much about She-Hulk, but she's part of the anti-piracy initiative with Lord of the Rings.
That's absolutely true.
The only thing I know is the butt twerking. Like they
Yeah.
have that ass twerking scene.
They did, and it's like, right, who's that appealing to? You know, who wants to see
The lawyers, I guess. I
Who
mean,
wants to
that's
see a 40-year-old lawyer twerking? But I think there's this one particular line in She-Hulk. It's in like the first or second episode. I think it's the first episode. I think this captures everything about the problem of representation. And I think She-Hulk itself is actually a great example of it, because the quote is, "I don't want to be a superhero." It's like, right, so you've got a 40-year-old lawyer, doesn't want to be a superhero. Why have you made a series about it? Who's that appealing to? Why are you surprised you don't have an audience?
Well, I think that She-Hulk actually has a bigger audience than Bros.
Maybe. Apparently it's down to like 1 million or 2 million viewers per episode now, which is really low.
Yeah.
So maybe. But the point is, like, there's no audience for these things because they're appealing. They're representing incredibly niche people. Like,
They're representing an ideology. They don't represent people. Like
Well-
the vision of the people at Hollywood on how they think a progressive woman is like.
sure, but like, the sort of single 40-year-old career woman is actually not a great slice of
Yeah.
the world's demographic. The Californian gay couple is not a great slice of the world's demographic, and so they've pitched these incredibly narrow, niche programs, and they want it. Well, why doesn't everyone want to watch it? It's like, well, because as you keep saying, representation is important, and I'm just not represented in it.
Well, I use the term relatability. Like I can't relate to this. There's nothing in that would make me say, oh, well, I'm a lawyer too. I used to twerk as well in the office, and like have that connection going. But no, it's just.
But also, like, none of the sort of girl boss characters are what I would consider like good people either.
Yeah.
They're all really self-centered, and like these would be the villains if it was a man.
Tila from She-Hulk is from Tila
He-Man.
from He-Man is a very good example. Like, she is self-centered. In front of He-Man's parents, she goes, "Well, what do you think about me? What about my loss?" And the parents just found out that their son is dead. When she finally gets to meet He-Man, the first thing she does is chastising him for saving her life by sacrificing himself. And on top of that, she's ugly. And I'm thinking, like, okay, well, let's say that beauty is on the inside. Like, what positive character traits can you possibly have that makes you like this particular character?
And that's exactly the same for this She-Hulk. It's just presumed that you're on this person's side, but she's just really selfish and insufferable. It's like,
You're lucky for not reading the comic books.
yeah, I am.
There's this scene where she finds a boss which allegedly used his power in order to grope a woman. This happened during the Harvey Weinstein scandal.
Right.
And she's not happy with the fact that even though the lawyer convicted the guy, it didn't give a harsh enough sentence.
Right.
So she turns into a She-Hulk, and while they were transporting him to prison, she destroys the cop car, probably killing or injuring the officers. We don't know. Like, the scene, it just shows the officer passed off at the wheel. Breaks the guy from inside the lorry, and then has a firm talking with him, and that's called empowerment. And she's a lawyer, right? Like, she's supposed to be on the side of justice.
That's awful.
Yeah, but that's what the comic book is like. So I'm not really surprised that the TV show is the way it is.
Well, the thing is, right? It's the Rings of Power has the problem of being insufferably boring. I don't even care that it's woke. This is just bad. This is like, this is the problem with this is insufferably woke.
If you appreciated that segment from the podcast of the Lotus Eaters, you can go to lotuseaters.com to get access to all the premium content we have on the site, such as this premium article on the terminal list and the conversion of James Reese, with an audio track for silver and gold tiers, of course. If you'd like to go and find out what else we're putting out, you can follow us on Getter at lotuseaters_com on Getter. Thank you and goodbye.